Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Git Good at OpenRCT2. In this episode I will show you how to make a realistic vertical drop roller coaster, or dive machine as they are sometimes called. Anyway, for this we will of course use the vertical drop roller coaster, and let's just start by building a station. The station can actually be pretty short because these coasters typically have very short trains. They usually just start with a small drop out of the station, then turn around, could be 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and then they start the hill, or some others like Baron. There's actually first a bit of a pre-show. There's actually also a transfer track in that section, which is hidden on the side. And then after that there's immediately the lift hill, which is always a pretty steep lift hill. Anyway, for this example I will just start with a little drop section. And we'll do a bit of a turn. And then here we'll have a steep lift hill. You can go pretty high with these. For this example I would just go to 14 meters. The real ones are sometimes up to 60 meters. But in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 it usually looks best if you don't go too high. Now most of these dive coasters on top of the lift hill, well, most of them immediately they have 90 degree turn, or sometimes a bit more than 90 degrees, and then they start their drop. Well, there's of course one exception, which is Baron in the Dutch park of the Efteling. That one goes up the hill, then just has a little straight section, and then immediately there's the holding brake. But most of them they have a 90 degree turn on top of the lift hill, and then a bit of a brake section or something else, and then there's a holding brake for the drop, which is an element exclusive to the vertical drop roller coaster. And then you start your vertical drop. Typically this drop is it will start at 40 meters. Usually the drop is a few meters more than, well, it drops to a few meters below ground level. Typically at the bottom they have a very shallow drop. So you shouldn't do something like this, so the G-forces here would be insane, and this also doesn't look very realistic. What you typically see on real vertical drop roller coasters is I'll enable the arbitrary ride types cheat, which is here, and we'll change it into a twister roller coaster, and we'll just put a shallow drop here. We could actually maybe do like this. I want it to be a little bit below ground level, so I'll dig into the ground a bit. Alright, like that. Now remember, on some rides like Oblivion, it actually drops down into a tunnel which is surrounded by path. That's also something you could do. Yeah, so yeah, quite often you can find the tunnel at the bottom. Yeah, here I will just drop into the open, and we can cover this with a path or scenery to make a tunnel by ourselves. Alright, I will just use some straight pieces here, and then here we'll go upwards again. What I often see people do is on a vertical drop roller coaster is make a hill like this, something like this, and then here it continues again. On real vertical drop roller coasters, well, they never go vertically upwards again, so that's probably something you should not do unless you're going into an inversion. So for example here, let's just go into a quarter loop. It's a track piece that's now available because we have changed the ride to a twister roller coaster. Alright, Let's go to 30 meters. That's still a 10-meter difference, so we should have enough speed. And here, let's just go into a barrel roll. And let's see if it looks right. Yeah, this looks right. Okay, and we just drop down here. Okay, and then from here we can continue our layout. Typically these coasters have very simple layouts. Usually it's vertical drop, then 1 or 2 inversions. Then on some of these rides there's actually a brake section in the middle, followed by another vertical drop. Maybe another inversion after that, and then it returns to the station. On some rides which have a more simple layout, it's just 1 drop, followed by several inversions, maybe a helix, and then return to the station. But yeah, these rides don't tend not to be too long, because most of the thrill is gained from the vertical drop itself. Alright, here let's just let's go steeply downwards here. Actually, quite recently, the first vertical drop roller coaster with a loop was made, Yukon Striker. So let's also make a large loop here. Actually, I've got a nice idea. So I'll actually make the station right over here. I'll make it on the other side, just so we have a little bit more space to work with. And what we'll do here is we'll go upwards again. Let's do a bit of a spiral upwards. Alright, and then we'll put a little brake section here. And let's put some block brakes. Alright, we're still 20 meters up, and then here, let's change it back to a vertical drop roller coaster. And then here we can make a steep drop. Just go vertically for a little bit, and then I think we need to be a little bit higher. Okay, brake section here. And then we'll do our little vertical section. Now we could actually make a half loop here. We'll need to change it to the twister coaster again. So let's make a half loop here. And half corkscrew. Alright, like that. Alright, something like this could work, I think. Okay, let's give it a quick test. I think we can do with 2 trains instead of 3. Just so they don't always have to wait at the block sections. Let's give it a nice color as well. Kind of makes it look like a Valkyria. I really like that coaster. It's the dive coaster in Liseberg. Well, one thing I usually do is for these coasters is well, let's first keep a piece of wooden coaster track here. We can use that with the tile inspector to copy and paste it in some places. So let's paste the piece here, let's move it upwards. Like that. And we'll disable clearance checks. Oh, I need to be 1 higher or lower. Alright. Okay. Usually there's a catwalk under the lift hill of these coasters. So we'll want to make one of those as well, or emulate it. So let's do that. We build a bit of a catwalk under it. Okay, we need to play a bit with the height of the coaster pieces. Okay, perfect. I think that looks really nice. We could choose to extend the catwalk under this part here as well. I actually don't like the look of this piece. Alright. Let's build it in reverse so we're sure it doesn't merge. It doesn't seem to like that. Okay. Now we'll want to lower these track pieces by 1 unit. Make sure to apply change to entire track piece when you're working on these curved pieces. And now we can move the entire thing 1 piece down. Okay, and like that you have a catwalk under your lift hill. Okay, we probably need to give it a nice color as well. And if you want the normal supports to show, you'll have to move all these track pieces under surface or under the other coaster. Of course, it may be a little bit glitchy in places like here, but you can probably find a way to make it look nice. Now, for these curved pieces, you'll have to do a bit more. But yeah, you can basically just select the supports. If you hold Control by the tile inspector, just hold Control, click on the supports, move them under the other coaster pieces, and there you go. They become, well, you will only see the normal supports again. But yeah, this may look a little bit glitchy because you can see the supports move through the track here. It's up to you to make something nice here. Something that often also looks quite nice is, let me get the launched freefall. So yeah, you could just build a launched freefall tower under it and use that for the supports. That will usually also work quite well. We could hide these pieces here. And then we could just copy and paste these tower pieces also over here, for example. And then we could do the same here. But looks like we're missing a piece. And with tile inspector it's just easy to construct a tower like this. There we go. Something like this could look nice. Or you could even make some beams in between. For example, using a monorail. Something like this. Just turn them white. And then we could just hide the supports. And if you want to build it higher, we just disable the support limits and then we can build extra monorail pieces. But yeah, that's really up to you how you're gonna make the supports look nice. I generally like to use the launch freefall towers. If you're going for a ride like Baron 1898, then you could also just make a really elaborate support structure around it. I really like how that one looks in real life. Alright, for this drop, well, yeah, you could make a tunnel from it. What you usually see when there's tunnels is that there's actually a mist effect. It's something you could emulate by just let's just take a ride here. And then we'll just put it to powered launch. And we'll just crash it here. And let's change it to the left ride type. Let's make the entrance and exit invisible as well. And then you'll have sort of a smoke effect here. Well, of course, I just did it really quickly here. But yeah, you can imagine just putting a few of these right on the track here. Could give a really nice smoke effect. Maybe you could use one or two of these rides, or just use a ride with more cars. Something you also see in some of these is that there's just a path over part of the drop. Of course, you should make sure that your coaster doesn't look under supported. So make sure some of the beams here stay visible. But yeah, you'll typically want to have some paths near your vertical drop, because that's the part you would want your guests to see. So yeah, in the real dive coasters, there's always a place near the vertical drop where you can actually look at the ride. Sometimes there's a path that's really built around the vertical drop. In this example here, it's just built close to it. But yeah, that's up to you to decide how to do that. For the station, yeah, just as usual, make a nice station here. Then we have the mid-course brake run. What you'll want to do for a mid-course brake run is always make some sort of platform. You could simply use more coaster track. That would work quite well, actually. Another ride I like to use for this is the mini golf. So we just take a mini golf, we build a station right under it, and just move it up. I think we can just move it up 2 units. Like that. And you'll probably want to do something with the supports. But yeah, that's really up to you to play with a little bit. You could make it a little bit thicker. You could just put some scenery blocks under it. And then we could make some custom supports. I don't think it really works in this location. Well, the supports don't, because the loop blocks the supports, but I think you can see where I'm going with this. Something else you'll see quite often on these coasters is sort of a water splash. So yeah, of course you cannot do a real water splash with these coasters, but you could just make some water here like this. And then you could make some fountains right next to it. I think that that is convincing enough for a water splash. We should probably rotate it like this. So yeah, this is something you could do for these rides. You see the water splashes quite often on these coasters. Now, for some reason the coaster here has stopped. It may have to do with this station being here. I'm not sure. Okay, that's probably a glitch, I don't know. It sometimes happens when you put a station exactly on a block break. The game sometimes gets confused. But yeah, it doesn't always happen. But yeah, it's something that can happen. So when it happens, just remove your station and just try building it again, or just try using wooden coaster track for your platform here. You could also do that for the break run here at the end. I usually just make a transfer track right here at the end. For these coasters, typically, well, yeah, the transfer track is typically just a part where the track can slide sideways. Actually, on the Baron ride in the Efteling, it's hidden away in a very clever way. So yeah, actually at the part where the train does a pre-show, there's actually a hidden door on, I think it's on your left, where the track can slide into, and then there they can store an extra train. But yeah, really for the transfer track, just use your imagination. If you haven't seen my tutorial on transfer tracks, I recommend you to watch it. It might give you some good ideas on how to make one. One thing you may notice with these default trains is that they don't handle inversions very well. They were originally only made to do vertical loops. So if we take a look at this inversion here, you may see that it goes through it in quite a strange way. So it goes vertically here and it really flips upside down here. On these half barrel rolls, it's not that obvious, so there you can just ignore it. That's what I usually do. In a corkscrew, it is more obvious that it doesn't really have the sprites to handle it. For the sake of realism, I tend to just simply ignore it usually. If you can't ignore it, one thing you can do is use the... actually, let me enable the right... I need to enable the cheat for show vehicles from other track types. It's actually still a twister roller coaster. You need it to be a vertical drop roller coaster. What you see when we change it into vertical drop roller coaster is that actually the supports become square supports again instead of round supports. Okay. One thing we can do, so normally we have the vertical drop coaster cars. I forgot which ones they are. Yeah, here they are, the 6-seater twister trains. Something else you could do is use the floorless twister trains. You'll need to use the disable vehicle limits cheat, and then you can turn them into shorter trains. Of course, these trains only have 4 people sitting right next to each other, but at least they do go through all the inversions properly. Something else you could do if you have custom scenery and rides available. Someone actually made a B&M dive coaster, one with 8 across cars and one with 10 across cars. These coaster trains are actually really wide. And here you can see, so there's actually 8 people sitting right next to each other in these trains. And they do have sprites for all the inversions. So if you have custom objects available, you can simply use these trains for your coaster. And there's even a 10 across version, but in my opinion it's really a little bit too wide for this game. You can see it would really not fit into the station properly. It's just that it's drawn over the exit that it looks like it still fits here. But yeah, really it depends upon what you want to use. For example, the way the game draws supports like this, this train would just crash their riders into this support. Of course, the game just lets it fly past it. But yeah, I would just stick with a less wide variant. Typically, I just stick with the normal cars, or sometimes with the 8 across coaster cars. Alright, that was it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you learned how to make a nice dive coaster from this. And I hope to see you make one of these. yeah, I hope it inspired you to make a nice dive coaster. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.